Obviously, I've stated prior that there are some living styles different between different types of EVs or species and races because of the needed living quarters or crew quarters are adapted to each of these species. Now, some need oxygen, others need sulfur, others need different types of gases to survive. The other part of it is some areas of the ship are intentionally flooded with liquid. So that's a lot of what the crew quarters is like. You have certain types of things that are needed on a Federation ship for crew that has a standardized set of skills that are needed to run the ship. Now, I've stated before that there is a definite need for security because of slight, if not often rare, cultural differences or conflicts. But the gist of what I'm trying to say is, we pretty much live in harmony with each other. We can actually go from crew quarters to crew quarters in a main corridor that is designated as neutral and has an airlock to get to each set airlock or liquid lock to get to each set of the crew quarters. Depending on where it is needed, the crew quarters can be reconfigured at any given moment. This is something that is required of engineering to go through the check, make sure that the living environment is not hazardous to said sentient beings. Now, I haven't had the pleasure of doing this myself, but it is also considered a security issue. If there's anything that has a really poor connection or something that could be sabotaged very, very easily, that is something that the pretty much the weapons masters deal with. Now, I can say for sure that the weapons masters and all the other crew quarters are completely segregated off, but the neutral zone is the only point where each of these crews can come together, recreational and stuff like that. The cook is basically part of the crew quarters as well, so anything that they want to really get in for sustenance into their crew quarters, they can press a few buttons, order it up, then come pick it up after they've ordered it. So the cook has to be well versed in just about every culinary culture possible. So for me, it was rather difficult trying to explain to him how to make macaroni and cheese. So it was interesting, but he picked it up very quickly, and he was able to do it without much problem. That's just an example, but you have, okay, say an Aquarian and a Reptilian. Now, there's a big difference, obviously, because Aquarians, they need water or some other type of liquid that they've evolved off of to survive and eventually thrive, as they wouldn't be there, obviously, otherwise. And a Reptilian that needs sulfur almost every other day, to be quite honest, to be able to survive. Because if they're not, I guess you could say, standing on it, then they're going to have their scales degrade into a very unpolished sheen, and then they get health problems soon after. the thing is the interaction between the two when they're in the neutral zone. Obviously, an Aquarian would have to be able to bring the liquid with them to be able to have to get into said neutral zone. So they have several different little things here and there that keep them alive. I can't say what it is. I've seen them, seen how they work, but I haven't really interacted with them personally because that would, for me personally, you get the point. I'm human, Aquarian. Humans need oxygen, not liquid. So, but for a reptilian, all they really would have to do is just have some like sort of a salve or something like that to put on their scales. Which is why they smell so weird at times if and when you get near them. I mean, it's the same with the Greys too, because the reptilians and Greys are, depending on the species, obviously, of special requirements. Much like myself, that there are different tiers of where they need to be. You have your gas levels, which is tiered 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the highest level, and that is required for any hybrid or any different type of crew that doesn't have a generalized genetic structure and requires that specific type of gas, or gas mixture in this case. The liquid levels are layered in the same manner, and obviously the liquids are mixed on the third level. The way they are filtered, I couldn't say. That you would have to ask one of an engineer for all obvious intents and purposes, which my friend Arcolm is, but she's always usually busy. So, cultural interaction between them, there is a definite orientation for, and I do say depending on what is needed in the neutral zone. They schedule certain parts so they get to know each other. You get to know what their cultures are like, the different races, species, that sort of thing. And I didn't want to speak for humanity, so I kept quiet and kept to myself. So I'm like, okay, I can tell. I'm just gonna be telling the cook what I usually eat and that sort of thing. But the whole general sense of thing is that once everything's done, namaste, and everybody goes back to work. In peace missions or other reasonable negotiations, this is absolutely crucial to be able to know how each race interacts with each other and what needs to be understood. For a lot of different reasons, the ship that I was on had to be put through its paces, so to speak, for a lot of the cultural and racial differences, and how to take care of each other if something happens. Now, I'm not going to say too much about the medical bay, but because that's a different topic entirely that I will get to later. But the general sense is that if some being becomes sick or ill because of something that's either poisonous to them or a vital part of what they need and they're not getting it, to actually be able to administer first aid. So that's all I really can cover on this, and I will be seeing you in the next one.